How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Saya no Uta. So we're following Fuminori again, as you can probably tell. He is now on the run from his own friend who is probably out to kill him. Not immediately, though. Now, I think he was going to, or at least a confrontation with him, but now he's gonna hold back, wait and meet up with the doctor, and they're going to, I would assume, have a game plan here. Especially now that she's learning more about Saya from the research notes or diary entries that, what's-his-face left behind, Saya's father. So, that mystery is kind of getting unraveled as to really who or what Saya is. I mean, it's starting to seem like she wasn't necessarily his creation, but something or someone, you know what, let's go with something that he had found, and I guess she began to grow and understand humans along with his help. Anyways, let us continue on as we, again, see Fuminori on the run, and to be more specific, driving. Today was the first time I've driven since my accident last summer. The proposition was always too dangerous to consider, given my inability to recognize roads and cars. Things have changed, however, in the 3 months that I've had to adapt to my condition. I know what cars and pedestrians look like now, and even though I can't exactly see colors, I've learned to decipher lights and turn signals. I still can't read street signs, of course. Nevertheless, I managed to make it safely to our destination with Saya and Yo in the back seat. And again, Yo is, not exactly looking like a human, in the same vein as Saya, I guess. She has been transformed hideously, but how hideous, I don't know. It was Saya who came up with the idea for our new hideout, an abandoned building she discovered while living with Dr. Ogai. See, I can't remember names. This place is looking freaky. I can't remember names, so whenever I do these recaps, it's kind of difficult for me to remember who is who. In these hilly suburban residential areas, it's not hard to find thick patches of undeveloped forest just off the beaten path. Saya's old playground is located in one such secluded area unaffected by the flow of everyday life. It used to be a privately owned sanatorium hidden among the silent trees. After the owners went bankrupt, it remained unsold and was eventually forgotten. After I left Saya and Yo at the hideout, I returned to town to make some preparations. Now I'm finally back at our new refuge. I liked this ruin from the moment I saw it. Mountains of construction materials and garbage litter the front yard, forming a serviceable barricade. This place looks even less likely to receive unwanted attention than our house. Since my brain sees humans as revolting monsters, places that have tend to stink or seem covered in filthy slime, ruins like these, long empty of life, are the places I find the most restful. So honestly, anything that's opposite of what is, clean and tidy, which explains why there's a, whole bunch of lovely colors and paint in Fuminori's house. I call out to let them know that I'm not a stranger. Then I go down to the basement where they're hiding.
おかえりなさい。車平気だった？
もう全然問題ない。一方通行の標識もどういうのか分かったし。スピードさえ出さなければどこを走っても大丈夫だよ。で、そっちは？
一通り調べたけど、やっぱりあれからずっと人が来た様子はないみたい。ここは安全だよ。
そうか。ならいいんだけど。
I'm a little worried that this abandoned building could become a hangout for biker gangs or homeless people.
多分表に積み上げてあるゴミのせい。あれ、普通の人間にはちょっと耐えられないんじゃないかな。
It doesn't bother me at all. I rather like it, in fact, but of course normal people would feel differently.
で、ふみのりの買い物はいいの見つかった？
ああ、もちろん。
Alrighty. Well, at least we can tell that that's an axe. I proudly unwrapped the weapon I just bought from a camping goods store. A 1-meter-long wood axe, the biggest and sturdiest I could find.
刃渡り15センチ以上のナイフは銃刀法違反だなって張り紙してあるのに、その隣でこんなもの売ってるんだよ。お笑いだよね。
I grip the axe with both hands, testing its dependable weight, and then swing it like a baseball bat. The deadly steel blade sweeps through the air right where a person's neck would be. Yo, who's sprawled out on the floor, flinches at the sound and curls herself into a ball.
切れ味とかどう？イオで試してみたら？
いや、それはちょっと。
I definitely wasn't expecting Saya to suggest anything so brutal.
心配いらないよ。今のようの体だったら刃物とかの傷は割と簡単に治っちゃうから。
いや、それにしたって痛いだろ。
そっか。うん、そうだね。
It must have slipped her mind completely. She smiles as the oblivious Yo, or at the oblivious Yo, as if to hide her embarrassment, and then says,
でもさ、痛くされた時のようの声って、それはそれで可愛いよね。
いや、やっぱり人間に斧で切りかかるってのは気が引けるよ。
そうなの？じゃあ、コウジさんは？
そりゃだって。
It should be obvious, but I guess that Saya still doesn't understand.
やつは僕には人間に見えないから、切ろうが潰そうが平気なもんさ。
そんなに違うんだ。
Yeah, we see Saya and Yo as human, everybody else not so much.
そうさ。
Which is how he was able to kill his neighbor, actually.
どんなに憎い人間だろうと、人を殺すと思うとブレーキがかかるもんだ。そこが僕の称賛でもある。
本当に？
Saya seems awfully subdued. I guess she's concerned about what'll happen when I have it out with Koji.
体格じゃあいつが上だし、普通に喧嘩したんじゃ勝ち目は薄いかもしれないけどね。でも、僕にとっての化け物退治が、あいつにとっては人殺しなんだ。こいつは大きいよ。あいつはきっと、最後の瞬間で隙を見せる。
なんだか不安なんだよね。そういう心理戦っていうの確実じゃないっていうか。
Saya says softly, staring at the floor with unusual gravity. She raises her head and looks straight at me.
ねえ、やっぱり私が買った方が良くない？
I appreciate Saya's consideration. Even though it could be interpreted as a lack of faith in me, she's still putting my safety above hers. Nevertheless, I can't accept her heartfelt suggestion.
サヤの腕力だとさ、ヨウみたいな女の子なら楽にねじ伏せられるだろうけど、男を相手には厳しいと思うんだ。
The bitter memory of Saya's rape is still fresh in my mind. Saya falls silent for a moment, seeming to understand what I'm thinking, but then comes right back to stubbornly press her case.
でもね、あのおじさんも最初の不意打ちはうまくいったの。大抵の人間はね、作用を見たら力が抜けて動けなくなっちゃうんだよ。病院だってそうだった。平気で話しかけてきたのって文則だけだよ。
まあ、それも一理あるかもな。
I can't imagine it personally, but I suppose it's possible that Saya's appearance is shocking enough to make someone lose their nerve. Suzumiya was able to gain the advantage because he had the same condition as me, which let him see Saya as a cute girl. Fear doesn't necessarily make people weaker, however. Depending on the situation, it can even send someone into a berserk of rage and make them harder to put down. In other words, such a tactic would be the same sort of gamble that Saya is worried about.
じゃあさ、サヤ、こういうのはどうだろうか。
When I tell Saya the new plan that just popped into my head, her gloomy frown turns into a bright smile.
それめえやん。文則って頭いい。
何もそこまで。
It's not exactly a great plan, but I guess the fact that it lessens the risk to me is enough to excite her. She's so easy to please, but that's part of what makes her so cute.
で、いつ頃来るの？コウジさん。
わからない。いずれ奴の方から電話があるだろう。そしたらここに誘い出して仕留める。
Koji will come. I know that he won't leave us alone. We could just keep running, now that we've started, but I want to eliminate Koji as soon as possible. Therefore, when he contacts me, I intend to meet with him unless it's an obvious trap.
せっかく人間一人分の肉が仕入れられるのに、ここだと腐らせちゃうね。冷蔵庫ないし。
他の動物を誘う餌にできないか？野良猫とかカラスをおびき寄せてさ。
それ危ないよ。万が一取り逃した時、よそに持っていかれて他人に見つかったら大騒ぎになるよ。
そっか。それもそうだ。
You can see that he's starting to really not think rationally here. He's trying to sink further and further in, a part of him not so much. Interesting to see how far Fuminori is gone, but how much of a human heart still resides within him. Humans are extremely dangerous, and their filthy, stinky bodies make me sick just by being nearby. Ironically, however, nothing tastes better than their meat. I truly regret having to abandon our well-stocked fridge.
まあ、この辺だと森にもいろいろと住んでるから、そんなに食事には困らないんじゃないかな。
3人分だよ。大丈夫かい？
任せて。これでもさや、狩りは得意なんだから。頑張っていっぱい捕まえてくるよ。
そうか。じゃあ、今日からはさやが一家の大黒柱だな。
へへ。
Saya giggles happily at my praise, and I find these childish qualities of her adorable.
今度はどのぐらいのんびりできるかな。
Because of the casual way she says it, I almost miss the emptiness of which her question leads.
どのぐらいかな。
Saya's right. This won't last forever. No matter how safe this hideout might seem, we will have to abandon it eventually. The slightest mistake could put our life together in jeopardy, just like when I failed to silence Koji. Some dumb kids might decide that this old ruin is a good place to test their courage, or this land might be targeted for new development. In order to be together with Saya, I have chosen to live apart from society. We will never find lasting peace in this world teeming with humans, not unless we can somehow escape from it.
長い旅だと思えばいいさ。
I pull Saya into my arms and fold my hands around her slender shoulders and then whisper,
どうせ人生なんて旅みたいなものなんだ。永遠に変わらない場所なんてない。時の流れを見送るか、自分自身が流れていくか、それだけの違いだよ。
そうだよね。
Saya smiles softly, perhaps in resignation, perhaps in sadness. Either way, there is peace and contentment in her expression.
それでも一人ぼっちじゃないし。だからさやは寂しくなんかないよ。ふみのりもそうだよね。
ああ。
I have no regrets. As long as I can hold Saya in my arms, I will gladly pay any price.
それにね。
She adds brightly, trying to cheer me up.
いつかは私たちが人目を忍んで暮らさなくてもよくなる日がきっと来るよ。それは約束してあげるから。
It sounds like a fairy tale, but for some reason she seems absolutely certain.
それは明日かもしれないし、ずっと先のことかもしれない。いつ印が来るのか私にもわからないの。初めてのことだから。ほんのちょっぴり怖いんだけどね。
I have no idea what Saya's prophetic words mean. Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck she's talking about. But this isn't the first time that she's said or done anything or something mysterious. She's performed any number of miracles already.
僕らにも希望があるのかい？
うん。
She says with a cheerful nod.
きっとそれがさやがふみのりに送ってあげられる最後のプレゼント。さやの最初で最後の務め。
I don't like how she's wording that there. What is she going to do? What does she have planned? The hands of his watch move with agonizing slowness as though counting down to the end of the world. In the hours since contacting Ryoko, Koji went back to his apartment, showered, changed clothes, and even had his first full meal in days. He wanted to take a nap, knowing that he needed the rest, but no matter how hard he tried, sleep never came. Forcing himself to relax only made his nerves colder and sharper. With nothing else to do, he decides to wander the city until nightfall. Downtown Tokyo is bustling, surrounded by smiling pedestrians, bright lights, and windows decorated early for Christmas. He feels as if all the happiness in the world has been gathered in this very place. Koji takes it all in, burning it into his memory like it's the last thing that he'll ever see. Is the world so beautiful because of the horrors that lurk in its shadows? The glow of the city can no longer warm him. Perhaps that is why it seems so precious. Koji watches the city for hours. It feels unreachably distant, like reading the obituary of someone you loved long ago. His phone rings at 8 p.m. It's Ryoko. Their conversation is short. She hangs up as soon as they decide where to meet. And so ends Tono Koji's final night of peace. Oh, we are really just approaching the end. Everybody is like, they're assuming the final bits of like everything. We are truly approaching the end. Ryoko arrives at the diner at 1 a.m., 1 hour later than agreed upon. She has a heavy-looking duffel bag under her arm. Koji doesn't feel like asking what the bulges represent.
すまんね。いろいろと準備に手間取った。
Ryoko doesn't sound at all apologetic, but Koji decides to just nod expressionlessly. Only a few tables are filled at this hour, like lonely islands in the midst of the vast restaurant. After sending the bleary-eyed, alright, waitress away with an order for 2 coffees, Koji and Ryoko are left all alone in a corner of the dining area.
で、調べ物は終わりましたか?
Koji asks bluntly while sipping dutifully from his third cup of watery, tasteless coffee.
待たせただけの甲斐はあると思いたいね。何分確証を得るまでには至ってないんだが。
Fuminoriも相当じれてると思います。こちらから連絡すると言ったきり、丸1日放置してますからね。
そんなにも彼は君との接触を意識してるのか?
サヤっていう名前には露骨なほど反応してました。
In the silence that follows, Koji tries to soothe his parched throat with another mouthful of weak coffee.
そうか。やはりサヤなのか。
Ryoko mutters. It's obvious that her grimace isn't for the coffee.
今なら、田んぼ先生はもう答えを知ってるんですね。
Koji
サヤ
asks,
というのが何なのか。
his tone almost confrontational. Ryoko tries to ignore Koji's question by nursing her coffee, but that only works until the cup is empty. Staring at the brown stain at the bottom of her cup, Ryoko says, her voice hard and flat,
君は私の忠告を無視した愚か者なわけだが、もう一度だけ証拠りもなく言わせてほしい。殿君、君は手を引いて全てを忘れるべきだ。
Oh, I don't think that's possible. Like, yeah, okay, maybe it is out of stubbornness, but the things that he saw in that house, how the house looked, he saw how Fuminori was truly wanting to kill him. And also, he saw that his girlfriend's corpse was cut up and put into his refrigerator. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of forgetting this.
証拠りもないですね。
Koji replies, smiling bitterly instead of glaring at her like he did before.
俺がまだ先生やFuminoriとは境界線を挟んだ反対側にいるとでも？
君はまだ一番致命的なものまでは見ていない。君にとってこの事件は無二の親友がいきなり正気を失ってに目覚めたっていうただそれだけの内容なんだろ。
Ryoko continues with a disparaging smirk. That's all? The things that Fuminori has done are so horrifying that Koji's only recourse, his only hope of coping, is to kill the man who was once his friend. Yet despite that, Ryoko makes this nightmare sound just like the beginning. Koji still doesn't understand where her morbid cynicism comes from, and nor does he want to.
それだけじゃないとしたら、残りは先生の妄想なんじゃないですか。
そう思えるならまだ君の傷は浅いってことさ。
Her brusque tone says that she doesn't care whether or not Koji is satisfied with her explanation.
今ならまだ時間が君の傷を癒してくれるだろう。君は最後の一線を踏み越えていない。
Koji considers Ryoko's words calmly, without letting himself get emotional like before. The final line. True, Fuminori is somewhere beyond that. Although Koji has gone far enough to be willing to kill Fuminori, he has no intention of eating his enemy's flesh once he's dead. That at least still separates the two. Then what about Ryoko, who has treated Koji like an arrogant fool or ignorant fool ever since she saved him from the well? How close is she to Fuminori?
先生の傷は俺よりも深いと。
In response to Koji's biting question,
この銃はね、
Ryoko...
実家の
Why
父
did I
のもの
click?
なんだ。
Ryoko's mocking smile turns inward. Wait, what? Huh? Ryoko pats one of her duffel bag's bulges.
こいつがロッカーから消えたせいで、父は責任を問われて地元の猟友会から除名させられた。申し訳ないと思ってるよ。私は両親にとっては自慢の娘なんだ。それが金庫の銃を盗み出すなんて想像もしてないだろう。
そうするだけの必要が先生にはあったと。
いいや、全然。
Her quick denial isn't what Koji was expecting.
その頃にはもう王外のことは一見落着していた。少なくとも私はそう思っていた。奴は姿を消したきり、もう二度と私の前には現れないだろうと安心してた。この銃で何かを撃とうとか殺そうとか、そういう必要があったわけじゃない。
じゃあなぜ？
眠れなかったんだよ。ただそれだけ。
Okay. Ryoko pauses, perhaps needing time to decide how best to explain. I need somebody to explain that one.
ベッドサイドにナタを隠しておいたんだ。夜、一人で部屋にいるのが耐えられなくてね。
She continues, choosing her words carefully.
どんなに世界が底抜けにめちゃくちゃになっていこうと、悲鳴を上げて逃げ回る以外の選択肢が自分にはあるんだって。そう納得させるためにはね、部屋の中に何か一つ頼りになる武器を置いておきたかった。
Koji doesn't know what to say. He's amazed, impressed even, that someone with such a serious case of delusional paranoia could function as one of T University's top doctors.
でも、それじゃ大した効き目はなかった。悪夢は日ごとにひどくなっていく一方で、安眠するにはナタじゃまだ足りなかったんだ。それで父の銃を盗んできた。こんな風に重心を詰めるとね、散弾がもっと広範囲に飛び散るようになって殺傷力が増すんだそうだ。
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a video game where, you know, enemies have health or anything like that. You will get wounded from being possibly marked by that wide spread, which is very likely in reality. And as long as you're not trying to snipe somebody with it, which I guess for self-defense you're not going to be realistically, I think it works. I think her situation here makes sense.
アメリカでも重罪になる改造なんだとさ。私はそれをクローゼットの奥に突っ込んで、それでようやく眠れるようになったよ。3日に一晩ぐらいはね。
At this point, Ryoko seems to have gotten everything off her chest. Smiling like someone who just finished a hard job, she adds.
銃はいいよ、本当に。相手に向かってぶっ放すもよし、それでダメなら自分の口に突っ込んで引き金を引くっていう選択肢もある。
先生は専門家の治療を受けるべきです。
端的な感想ありがとう。でもね、君だって他人事じゃなくなるよ。これ以上先に進むんならね。
Yeah, he'll be the one who needs help. Koji is already doubtful that meeting with Ryoko was the right thing to do. The one thing that he and Ryoko have in common is an unwillingness to leave Fuminori to the proper authorities. Fuminori not only killed Koji's lover and friend, but even went so far as to defile their corpses. Koji isn't about to give him the chance to get off an insanity plea. Yeah, we've gone too far. No matter what crimes he must commit, Koji will end Fuminori with his own two hands. If he doesn't, he knows that he will never sleep again. It helps to have a partner in crime, but only when that partner doesn't cause trouble. Ryoko talks big about exposing Ogai's secrets, but she might just have a head full of delusions. If so, Koji needs to rethink this whole thing.
この先全てを先生に任せるというのなら、先生のこと信用させてください。
Koji says with unflappable determination.
先生をそこまで追い詰めるほどのものが、オーガイっていう男にあったという証拠を、彼が何をしでかしたのか、全て俺に見せてください。
そこまで言うかね、まったく。
Ryoko smirks and shakes her head ruefully, but puts up no further resistance. She pulls a stack of paper from her bag and hands it to Koji. The loose-leaf sheets are bound with string.
一行読んだら続きは次のページの同じ行だ。まあ、触りだけでも読んでみるといい。
As directed, Koji looks through the handwritten pages and gives up after less than 3 minutes.
怪奇 SF の草稿か何かですか。罪のない悪ふざけですね。彼にはこんな子供っぽい趣味があったわけだ。
Koji deliberately scoffs at the document, doing everything he can to show contempt for what he just read. At the same time, he tries desperately not to remember the mountain of bones in Ogai's bathtub and the unidentifiable smell permeating Fuminori's house.
1年前、オーガイがうちの大学に持ってきた資料も、その文章と同じぐらい突拍子もないものだった。
Ryoko says, coldly ignoring Koji's disdain.
奴は大学の機材を無断で使って、こっそり検査をしようとしたらしい。だが、ドジを踏んで露見した。そこから先はもう大騒ぎでね。オーガイが使おうとした機材から察するに、奴はそいつを P3 レベルのバイオハザードとして取り扱うつもりだったらしい。その程度の用心で十分だったのかどうかも知れたもんじゃないんだが、近隣の住民を退去させるべきだったんだが、まあそこは偉い人たちが偉い人なりに頑張って全部なかったことにしてくれたよ。その代わり私たちはキャンバス中のネズミを一匹残らず駆除する羽目になった。ネズミとかつてネズミだった何かをね。
At their first meeting, Ryoko brushed Koji off when he asked about Ogai Masahiko. Now, however, she's telling the whole story. Her voice is flat and emotionless as a machine's.
事の究明には結局皆が匙を投げた。オーガイが持ち込んだ資料がどういう起源のものなのか、誰にも突き止めることはできなかった。まあ結局みんな賢明だったわけだ。理性は理性、ざれ言はざれ言。そういう線引きを危うくしないで済む程度ってもんを心得ていた。でもあいにく当時の私はそこまで賢明じゃなかった。
Ryoko pauses for a moment and then grins with self-disdain so maniacal that it strikes Koji like a blow.
あれこれ探って暴き出して、私はオーガイが何をしていたのか知った。彼が関わっていた連中や彼をそそのかした連中も突き止めた。ナタと添い寝するようになったのはその頃からだ。この世の理性ってものがどんなにタガの緩んだ穴だらけの頼りない代物なのか理解するようになったのはね。
As though fleeing from the quiet insanity that he keeps glimpsing in Ryoko, Koji finds himself paging through the loose leaf in his hands. He reads a line at random. The organism's flesh is not fibrous, but reticulated. Put simply, it is an extremely tough substance that expands and contracts not in one direction but in all directions. This means that slashing or piercing damage has very little effect. Since the flesh can contract in any direction freely, any wound will be sealed instantly. It's nonsense. What else can it be? If he lets himself believe it, then everything else, all the logical rules that define the world, will be rendered meaningless.
じゃあ先生は信じるんですね、この内容を。
疑う理由なんてとっくの昔に見失ったからね。
Ryoko reaches into her duffel bag again, this time removing a stainless steel thermos that looks able to hold about 500 cc's of liquid.
こいつが鞘を倒す切り札だ。調達するのに手間取ったが、 多分こいつは敵面に効く。
ついていけません。
Koji snaps, no longer able to disguise his frustration.
サヤが何だろうともうどうでもいいです。俺は文則を終わらせることができればそれでいい。あなたには任せておけません。
そうか。
Now that she's given up on persuading him, her assent is swift and cold. At this moment, Koji's fate has likely ceased to matter to her.
いいだろう。君は先坂文則を仕留めるために全力を尽くすといい。私もその気に乗じさせてもらうとする。君の邪魔はしないし、君が仕損じた時にはきっちりと私が帳尻を合わせてやる。
Despite the determination in her voice, Koji can't bring himself to trust this paranoid doctor completely. They don't really trust each other at all here.
あなたの持ち合わせている理由で文則を殺せるんですか？
潔癖症なんだよ、私は。ああやって人の世界の拉致いに隠れ住んでいるような奴らが我慢ならない。奴らは寝室のゴキブリだ。枕元でカサコソ這い回る音を無視して眠れるか。
Oh, fuck no, bro. You gotta pull out the shoddy for that
見
one.
つけ次第殺して駆逐する。そうせずにはいられない。私の精神衛生上の問題だ。
Her reasons are similar to Koji's own. He doesn't want to bring a murderer to justice, nor does he want revenge for Omi and Yo. If he did, he could have left everything to the police. The reason he can't is that the villain is Fuminori. The man he believed was his friend has turned his whole world upside down. Everything and everyone with a part in this madness is to blame. And that includes himself for allowing the betrayal. His self-loathing. The desire, or his desire to destroy, is what's keeping him on his feet.
さあ、それじゃあチェックメイトに駒を進めよう。先坂君を呼び出すといい。
Koji nods, pulls out his cell phone, and calls his friend for what will probably be the last time. So many final times in this episode. The call goes through quickly. Excuse me. Fuminori must have been waiting for it.
待たせたな、文則。こっちの準備は整った。
Koji、今どこにいる？
Fuminori must have been quite anxious to hear from Koji. His voice is hard and completely emotionless.
お前のすぐ背後とでも言っておこうか。
Koji can't help but smile at Fuminori's disappointment. Perhaps Ryoko's maniacal sadism has rubbed off on him.
で、筑波を解放する決心はついたのか？
ああ、背に腹は変えられない。
He's lying. Koji thinks, remembering the contents of Fuminori's refrigerator. Just what part of Yo did you eat, huh? Did you carve that poor girl up like a pig?
Koji、お前は集めた資料のすべてを証拠ともども持ってこい。その内容を見て納得できたら、僕らはYoを引き渡す。
いいだろう。場所は？
まずは応戦の Y 駅まで来い。そこでお前が一人なのを確認してから詳しい場所を教える。
念の言った話だな。
妙な細工はなしだ。45分以内に来い。
Fuminori hangs up without waiting for Koji's response.
俺が単独なのを確認するまで居場所は教えないつもりみたいです。
ただの偉大生にしちゃ心得てるな。感心だ。
Ryoko's praise sounds serious, drawing a glare from Koji.
私の車はここに置いていこう。トノ君、君の車のトランクに人一人が入る隙間はあるかい？
大丈夫ですが。正気ですか？映画の見過ぎですよ。
そんじょそこいらの映画よりは危険な冒険なんだよ、これは。
With those bold words, Ryoko grabs her duffel bag and rises from her seat.
で、この店を待ち合わせに選んだのは君だったな。
そうですが、何か？
コーヒーの責任を取れ。
She says and tosses him the check. That's fucked up. But yeah, you know, it's whatever. That might be their last time spending money. I mean, who knows? Alright, gamers. Next time we'll, I guess next time we're gonna go confront Fuminori. We are truly approaching the end, I feel. Oh man, it's gonna be good. I don't know what is bound to happen, but oh man, all I know is that it's gonna be good. I'm sure we'll get the final bit of information we need on what Saya is, what her final deal is, what Fuminori's deal will be, And what plan these two have, Koji and the doctor, I guess we'll find out next time. So thank you all for watching this episode. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy shit. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.